Hi, everyone. Welcome to Accounting 667 Advanced Audit. This is Dr. Gregory, and this is the second of our last chapters of reading for this last week of class. And again, we're going to be talking about just some other types of information and services that you as a forensic accountant might be performing in your careers. So we're going to look at Chapter 16, Remediation and Litigation Advisory Services. So we're going to cover what remediation is, what it means when we recover assets, how we support criminal and civil actions in these cases, the role of the forensic or fraud accountant, and just a little touch on SAS 99 for auditors. So remediation is just remedying a situation. That's all it means. It's an act or it's a process of trying to fix something that happened. It can be money, or it could be other assets, or it could be simply the act of winning with no recovery or compensation. And I wanted to go over just a really quick issue that happened. It happened back in 2013, but it was finally settled, I believe, in 2020. So in 2013, the singer Taylor Swift stated that she had been sexually assaulted by a DJ during a press interview for a new record. And the result was she told her mother, they complained. The DJ was then terminated for his conduct. And he decided to sue Taylor Swift for $3 million in damages. Well, she decided that she would countersue him for $1. And she won. And in the winning, her attorney, Douglas Baldridge, said, return of a verdict for a single dollar, a single symbolic dollar, the value of which is immeasurable to all women who have experienced this situation. She didn't want his money, but she wanted to call out and make a stand for other people that may have faced this type of situation. And so she did sue, and she won in court that symbolic $1. So sometimes it's just the act of winning that the plaintiff wants. Now, there's many ways we can recover assets, but one of the first things you have to do is, if you're going to recover an asset, you have to freeze or secure those assets so they don't disappear. Sometimes that happens in messy divorce cases or even messy business cases, and all of a sudden the assets of the company or the individual start to dissipate or disappear. Right before Bernie Madoff turned himself into the FBI for the big Ponzi scheme that he was convicted for, that he admitted to doing and was convicted for, he was found to have been writing checks of tens of millions of dollars to people in order to try to get that money out and away so that it would not be part of the case. So he was trying to get rid of his assets as fast as possible. Now, sometimes businesses, nonprofits, any type of business will have insurance and bonds, such as fidelity bonds, that protect the company in case of actions that are dishonest or misconduct of employees, senior management. Even boards of directors can have insurance policies to protect the company in case they take detrimental actions. Finally, there are judgments, and judgments are the final orders of a court that award the assets to government, to victims, to the plaintiffs, And those usually lay out what the assets are in context of money or other assets and how they will be distributed. Now, I put in forfeiture in there as well. Now, the text does cover forfeiture, but it's assets that are seized and then converted to cash to make victims as whole as possible. They can be done through criminal actions or through civil actions. For example, in a civil case, a bank could have an asset seized and awarded to them for the non-payment of taxes or the non-payment of the loan. And in that case, the asset's seized, it's taken into custody either by the government or by a governmental entity, and that if the case is finalized, then the bank could resell that home, or the government could sell that home, what we call on the courthouse steps. And it's literally on the courthouse steps. You stand outside, they have a declaration of what the asset is that is being sold, and people bid on it. They can be seized and held pending the outcome of the trial. They can be sold before a trial is adjudicated if the item is considered perishable. And I've worked on several cases where assets are perishable in nature. One where the Rita Crudwell case that you read about included the fact that the government went in for what we called an interlocutory sale of these assets because they cost a lot of money to maintain these quarter horses, trainers, veterinarians, special food, nutritionists, all of this. So we went to the court and we were given court authority to sell the perishable assets, and then we held the money until the case was adjudicated. Now, as we support criminal and civil actions in court, we've gone over what it's like to be an expert witness, where an expert witness can be not necessarily an advocate on either side, but your role is to present the facts as an expert with specialized knowledge on the particular subject. You could be a fact witness, which is a lay witness that has firsthand facts and knowledge of what they or you saw taking place. No hearsay, though, is allowed. It has to be firsthand knowledge. And you could be just supporting these actions as a fraud or forensic accountant. Your experience in the field of accounting, you look at the financial records to determine if there is a presence of financial irregularities. And I'll come to that in the next slide. Examples could be there's missing data, there's fraudulent data, revenue and expense sources. The list goes on what we can support both criminal and civil actions with. Now, your role is to obtain and evaluate the evidence that's provided to you. You'll put together written reports. You may be providing that testimony. Your credibility is based on honest, objective, and ethical boundaries within the case. So this is where the defense will often try to strike at your credibility by looking at your background, your history as an accountant, what you have done in the past, how you have acted in the past, have you had any ethical issues in the past, and to determine whether or not you have bias within the case. You have to lack bias. You have to be as objective as possible, and I can't overstate that enough. You cannot determine if fraud occurred, only that the evidence suggests it, or the presence of the evidence together can provide an irregularity, not an error, but an irregularity within the financial results, because only the court can determine if fraud took place. That's for the jury or the judge to decide. We often loosely talk about finding fraud, but we really don't find fraud. We really find the presence of irregularities. The court will determine whether those irregularities are errors, honest mistakes, or fraud. SAS 99 is the auditing standard that we use, which is the consideration of fraud in financial statement audits, and it supersedes both SAS 82 and SAS 109. And it sets up the guidelines and the substantive testing that auditors have to do that look at the fraud triangle risk factors. Now, you're going to be able to do substantive testing for opportunity and perhaps some pressure, for example, compensation for results, but you're not going to be able to really set up substantive tests for other types of motivations that are outside the business realm or the rationalization or justification. That can come out later on as the case is being built and employees may be investigated and interviewed. But your focus is going to be on, is there an opportunity or could there have been internal pressure within the company to conduct fraud? That's it for this last chapter. Please, if you have any class questions, post them to the question board. You can send me a Halo message, or you can set up a 15, 30, or 60-minute meeting via Zoom with me. And as we end this class and end this last lecture, it has been my pleasure to share with you the experiences that I've had as a fraud investigator. And hopefully some of these stories kind of bring into reality, into light, that your work as a fraud or forensic accountant is highly valued in today's society. And I wish you all the best as you continue your education journey here at Grand Canyon University. Take care, and I'll see you in the classroom.